looking at this question, what is the point of faith without guarantees? And we're looking at it in a both because it's an interesting question, and I heard it posed recently, and I thought, good question, and it seems to be germane to what we're talking about here with this story of our floods in life, the times where we feel battered about by storms and floods that seem to come with a great deal of frequency into our lives. And how do we hold all that? We've been looking at the story of Noah and the ark, looking at it through a Christian new church perspective, which means you have kind of the surface level, and then you have an internal sense. You have a deeper poetic meaning to it all that yields some beautiful insights. And one of the ones is in this section we're looking at from Genesis 8 is the idea that the ark comes to rest. So you have the storm, you have the flood, and then you have the ark coming to rest. Now, again, lots more to go, lot longer journey, not an easy journey from that point on, but things have finally hit a rest, and we hear the word used here, calm. We looked at that yesterday. That it's a time just where we have like this momentary calm, where essentially what we get, folks, is that it's all going to be okay. Like in some way, shape, or form, it's all going to be okay. Maybe not in this life. Maybe it's an okayness that stretches into to a future that we can imagine, or a reimagined future. But it's this core knowledge that, okay, so God's got this, and that God is holding all this. Now, what's interesting about that, folks, is I think a lot of the time we want a faith that gives guarantees. In other words, the storm hits and we want 1,000,001 guarantees, and we want God to sign off on the bottom line, and we want guarantees from God, we want guarantees from other people, and that's not really what this stuff yields. It doesn't yield guarantees, it yields meaning. There's a big difference between those two. It doesn't yield guarantees, it yields meaning. Just in the same way, it doesn't yield formulas, it yields wisdom. Big difference between those two. And I so wish it yielded formulas, and I so wish that it yielded guarantees. But that's not what God's really all about here. God's about us having lives that are just filled with this incredibly rich and deep meaning and incredible life wisdom. I mean, you think about some of the people who've been through the hardest life circumstances that I can imagine. Many of them carry with them a life wisdom that just is staggering when you hear of it. And you hear them speak. I think of Eva Kor, I think of Scarlett Lewis, I think Kevin Hines, probably the most significant speakers out of a larger number of speakers, and I could keep the list going, that we've had here at New Church Live. So it's kind of intriguing to watch how all that, Nora McInerney should throw her in there too, really interesting to watch how that all evolves and how that moves forward. And it's an interesting part where we get this wisdom of life. And I want to read for you a part out of from Emanuel Swedenborg, where he talks about the meaning of life we start to get at this point. And it's an interesting perspective. Let me pull it up here. Before things are reduced to order, it's very common for everything to fall into confusion and chaos. This allows things that cling together poorly to separate. And when they have separated, the Lord arranges them in their place. So it's this idea that we can start to see, things are going to be unsettled for a while. They're going to be anxiety-ridden for a while. We're going to be unsure for a while. But that's where the Lord can actually do a whole lot of work. That's where God shows up in ways that are really amazing. And the important part is, folks, is I think for me, and I imagine for a lot of you, we want to see it. Like, God, give me the full insight in terms of what's going on here, what's happening, what's the end game, what's the point. And that's not what we get. We really do get this sense, this deep, rich sense of meaning, and that if we hold on, God's kind of rearranging things in a very gentle but very, very profound way. And I think probably a lot of us have had that experience, and it's why that idea of just holding on is so important. Not figuring it out, but holding on. I want to say that again. Not figuring it out, but holding on. Because again, that's where we'll start to see that idea of wisdom arising, not formulas. And where we'll start to see this idea that faith that is a lot more about meaning than it is about guarantees. And I'm talking guarantees in this life, obviously. I think there are definitely, God works with guarantees, the primary one of which is love wins. just that simple. Love wins. So friends, think about that for today. If you're in the midst of a storm, that God's here too. There are these moments of calm. There are these moments of clear rest. Inhabit those moments, live into those moments. As we said yesterday, get out of your head, get into your life, and just start to have a sense of this idea of meaning, this deep meaning God is sharing with us, as well as the idea of the wisdom that comes from love. And it's a hard won wisdom. It's not easy. It's not gained lightly. But boy, is it beautiful, and boy, can it shift our lives in a lot of ways. And to that, I would say, what is faith without guarantees? I would say a lot. It's much richer, it's much truer, it's much more full of love, and it's much more open to life as life is, imperfections and all. So that's my thought today, folks. As we go into the weekend, I'm wishing all of you the very best. And as always, feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can text me, you can throw a note on this. Be glad to support you and yours in whatever way possible. So with that, friends, what we're going to do is we're going to offer a little blessing and prayer, a little meditation, a little prayer, a little blessing, and then we'll say hi to folks on social media as we enter the weekend. So first things first, folks, let's get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's give a little cheery hello to folks who are joining us today on social media. Again, we look at comments first on our New Church Live Facebook page and any comments that might show up as well on my personal page. So let's take a look here and say hi to folks. Marcia out there in Colorado. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Marcus writes, great quote. Well, thanks, Marcus. It's powerful stuff. Gene writes, good morning. Have a great weekend. The same to you too out there, Gene. And a little shout out to Sherry. One of the benefits of getting older, hindsight of a super weekend. Yeah, it's funny watching, Sherry, how much of life is just like this slow march towards like it's all gonna be okay. Very few people I have found end up more and more panicked as life goes on. A lot of people I know have ended up more and more just settled with, hey, God's got this, which is a good thing. And Paige writes, good morning. Good morning to you, Paige. And Shannon out there in Texas, happy Friday, just be. I mean, that's it, right? If we can get out of our thinking heads and just like have have a little weekend of calm here with a lot of meaning, that would be wonderful. All right, now let's flip over onto my page here. Say hi to folks over there. Oops, sorry about that. Just messed that up. I am not Mr. Technology and never will be, something tells me. All right. So let's see. Got a bunch of comments here. Beth, good morning to you and hope you're doing well, my friend. Again, thanks for going down to St. Francis Inn with us. It sure was fun. Sherry, good morning to you. Great to see you joining us this morning. Melissa writes, good morning. There are no guarantees in life. Living each day to the fullest, knowing God is with us. So much easier said than done. Holding on and not figuring it out. Amen. I should put 5 stars by that one. Now that is so meaningful. Coming from a place of love always wins. Thank you. Thinking of you today. Thanks, Melissa, and great to have a meal with you and your wonderful husband last night. Yeah, I like that line. Holding on and not figuring it out. Oh my goodness. There's life's work right there. Beth writes, would not have made it this far in life without faith and trusting God. And that's so true. It's just boy, we got a lot of that coming up in Christmas. We'll be looking at a lot of those different ideas. My dear buddy Carl writes, wisdom of life, just holding on. We'll be reflecting on your message, faith without guarantees, while I work with my dear brother Wayne to complete a big project I'm no longer able to do solo. God has, I understand it on the job. And listen, tell that brother Wayne of yours who's just every bit as good a guy as you are. You are 2 amazing human beings out there, Carl. You know, I hope you guys are having a lot of fun building that deck. What a good brother thing to do. Linda writes, no guarantees, that's for sure. Have a good weekend, everyone. And yeah, and isn't it interesting, folks? Like no guarantees and meaning. You know, like think about that for a second, right? And I'm thinking of Teddy Roosevelt's famous poem. You know, like it's about getting into it, like into the race. You know, I'm thinking, you know, what comes to my mind is I see you write that, Linda, is, you know, all the years I spent coaching, like every year going into coaching, there were no guarantees. I couldn't guarantee wins or guarantee this or guarantee that. And I knew at the same time there's going to be incredible meaning in those pursuits. You know, I always tried to not just make it about the sport, but make it about bigger life lessons. And that's just really interesting, right? Like no guarantees but meaning. And man, boy, this is a little thought, but you know, I'll close on this. It's interesting how much we don't do because it lacks a guarantee, you know, if that makes sense. And that's not great. You know, we need to go into things because we know it will yield meaning, not because it will yield guarantees. So just a thought for the day. All right, dear friends, you are blessed and you're a huge blessing in my life. Wish you all the best. Take care. Bye-bye.